Welcome to the Pennock Knockdown, a podcast that unpacks key strategies and tactics for digital marketing leaders. Today, I'm joined with Sabrina Yavil, who is a fractional CMO in the beauty industry, and she recently launched her own Gen Alpha-focused skincare brand for boys, a personal care brand for boys. Sabrina, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Nikki. It's great to be here.
Well, I'd like to start with a soft, easy question, and with that, I'd love to understand if there's any new beauty product that you've recently discovered and or are trying that you want to share with our audience.
Well, there's so many, but I used to work at Clinique a few years ago in New York, and a couple of my colleagues have since gone on to launch their own brands. So I guess I just want to keep checking out their whole line. So one is AP Chem by Sandra Stotz, and she partnered with a celebrity dermatologist to launch their line, and she's a big ketamine advocate, and they have an eye cream and a moisturizer, so I'm looking forward to really go deep there. And then the other one is called Mother Science, and that was started by Jessica Golden, along with the guitarist of Incubus. Remember that band? And I think they're still touring. And his wife is a violinist, and she worked to discover a molecule and commercialize a brand new molecule called melisazine. It's a little hard, but that's a pretty cool, innovation. And they have a brightening serum, which I've tried, and then they have a new retinol serum for lines and wrinkles, which I really need to try.
So Mother Science, I love their packaging and branding, and I think we had previous conversations where you told me about AP Chem, so I believe I still have a tab open on my phone to go purchase something and check it out.
Awesome.
Could you walk us through a marketing strategy you launched that either excelled or flopped, and how you're applying those learnings going forward for some of your marketing efforts?
Sure. So I've been in marketing for almost 20 years. I was at Estee Lauder for 10 years, and then I've moved into consulting. I've been doing that for almost the last 10 years. That's something that I kind of moved into a long time ago, before fractional was a thing, as a hybrid position when I was raising my family. So it's really cool that post-COVID, this fractional role has really exploded, and there's a bunch of executives that I know that have also moved into that for more flexibility or more variety in clients. So from a marketing perspective, I've seen almost everything, but I hadn't had a lot of experience in Amazon, and I had been working with a client recently, and they were, global omni-channel brand with major retail distribution online and Amazon. And so when I came on, I was actually really impressed. They had grown so quickly on Amazon within a couple years. So I have a finance background. So previous to marketing, I know I look like I'm super young, but previous to marketing, was in finance for a number of years. So I really like to get into the numbers. So I looked into their channel profitability, expecting to be really impressed. And it turned out that even with all this growth and revenue, they were barely breaking even. So all that growth didn't translate to the bottom line or contribute to the profitability of the brand. So I like to look into, okay, so what's going on? So we looked at it from a SKU, perspective, and their top 5 best-selling SKUs were negative. And so we looked into why that was, and it's because they were being really aggressive on winning the buy box, which is now called the featured offer, and they were undercutting their own price to compete with third-party resellers. Meanwhile, they'd already sold, into those resellers. Okay, so that doesn't really make sense. And then the other thing was they were really aggressive on promotional discounts. So, the Prime Deal days are 20% or more. And so rather than looking at what could each SKU afford from a profitability, they were promotional across the board. So, I think from a marketing perspective, you want to go really hard on advertising and working with agencies and being aggressive on your marketing and your pricing strategy. But I think that, some basics come into play where it's kind of cliche, but you've got to know your numbers. So that was kind of one flop. But we've turned that around. So then for the next year, we focused on profitability. So not necessarily competing on the featured offer, which took a hit on revenue, but protected the bottom line. And then when we're participating in promotions, which we want to do for customer acquisition and for awareness, being more selective of which products in the portfolio we want to highlight and push, and which ones, just don't make sense from a profitability perspective.
I like that you called out a couple things there that I just want to highlight again. I think one, the emergence of brands working with fractionals is so fantastic for us, even agency side, because we're not working with brand people who are locked into one brand, but actually we're working with brand people, the fractionals in this case, who have exposure to multiple brands. So it just brings in a lot more opportunity to do creative tests and learn strategies than I think when you're working with truly pure full-time in-house people. So I love that you mentioned the opportunity of fractional and how it's kind of allowed you to evolve and grow more. The second thing that I think you called out that was interesting is just like what brands need today from agencies, and how locked into profitability and really efficiencies and margin agencies should be to meet the clients where their needs are. So really eye-opening to realize, some of the agencies still today are not looking at that in partnership with the clients. I'm glad you got that all squared away.
So just to touch on that, though, with the agencies, I look at it, if you're working with an agency that you really do trust, and you should be, right? If you're engaging with an agency, there should be that level of trust. I look at it as almost like a doctor-patient relationship. If you don't share everything, then they don't know everything. So while they're reporting back on, hey, you're doing great, you're at 40% margins or something on Amazon, like pat, they're not seeing like the cost of goods, the freight, the agency fees, like all the other factors that layer in. And had they known that, maybe they would have made different choices. So I think that's the other thing is the brands can, the agencies can only work as well as the brands also communicate with them.
But in some cases, if the agency isn't asking the questions and the brand doesn't know better, then, then it can be a disaster too. So definitely worthwhile to mention the doctor-patient relationship. I like that one. When we were talking before the recording, we chatted about TikTok a little bit. Do you want to talk to us about how you've started utilizing that channel?
Yeah, I mean, you can't go anywhere without hearing about the synergy between TikTok and Amazon. And, Amazon's even like participated with TikTok now and created some closed loop opportunities. So, with being on Amazon, it does open up some opportunities to drive off-channel marketing activities, like through influencers or on social media with Instagram and TikTok, to drive to Amazon. I was just talking with another founder yesterday, and he really invests in his off Amazon marketing. And he doesn't really love Amazon too much, but he can't get rid of it because he called it the cash register. Basically, people are hearing about the brand through all the brand awareness and marketing activities off channel, but they're coming in and converting on Amazon. So it is kind of this synergistic platforms. So what I like about working with creators and influencers off Amazon is that if you're working with them from an affiliate perspective, then you're only paying a commission when you've generated revenue on Amazon, instead of paying creators to post, which is, there's no guaranteed sales from that. And I think I've worked with enough brands where they've been burned paying creators. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be paid, but just being paid to post once or twice isn't translating to sales in a meaningful way for most brands that I've spoken with. So from the affiliate's perspective, at least when they're paying a creator, they know that they've already generated revenue from it. So that seems to work. And the other thing that's interesting about the TikTok Amazon connection is that when things go, become viral, I hate that word, become viral on TikTok or become trending, you have a host of consumers coming, or people coming to Amazon searching for those terms. So if you're brand or product is something that's trending on TikTok or could, benefit from something that's trending on TikTok, then it's really important to make sure that your keywords on Amazon reflect those trending TikTok terms. So there's a popular example going around with the pheromone perfumes, and people coming off of TikTok going onto Amazon and searching for pheromone perfumes. And I've seen a lot of Estee Lauder and Chanel and Dior perfume ads before, and I've never seen them talk about pheromones. So if it's not in your search terms from an SEO perspective on Amazon, you're not going to get any of that traffic. So being in tune to what's trending, but also make sure that you're constantly updating your keywords from an SEO perspective is really important on Amazon to capture that traffic.
And then if you can't use words like pheromone, perfume in your SEO, then you're running search ads on Amazon to capture that audience, right? So there's always a solution. Sometimes it just costs money. I really like what you said about the creators and working with them and the capacity of affiliate marketing rather than pay up front for the posts. And we were recently at a summit where Creator IQ shared some data, and it was really that creators want to build a career with brands now. They don't want to just take home a paycheck. So I think really aligning with creators who understand the vision and the purpose of the brand and can authentically promote it is really captivating and what both parties really want. So it's a good place to land leading into 2025.
I think it's really synergistic for the brand too, because in the past, or even probably currently, people are paying per post, and we know that from data that it changes, it keeps getting more and more, but the frequency that somebody needs to see a post from that creator is anywhere from like 7 to 12 times, depending on the source of information that you're using. So paying for like 1 or 2 posts isn't going to bring in sales. It's that repeated exposure and that relationship. So I do think that both sides can benefit greatly from a longer relationship.
Why do you think the frequency or the instances someone needs to be exposed to a brand has increased?
I think it has to do with our shorter attention spans. We may not be really like taking it in or just going too fast past it. So I do think our attention spans are contributing to that. What do you think?
Yeah, I would probably echo that precisely. And I'm a discount shopper, so anytime I see a good discount, it'll stop me in my tracks and I'll consider buying the shirt I've already got in the closet because it's 20% off, but from a different brand, right? I was just guilty of doing that this morning. I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about Gryme, your new baby. I know it's only a couple months old as a personal care brand for Gen Alpha. But I'd love to kind of understand what strategies you're deploying there to build both awareness and conversions, should they differ from what we just spoke through.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, it's a baby, and I'm bootstrapped, so I don't have a ton of money to try lots of things. So I've been learning from wins and mistakes or hiccups from all the brands that I've been working with over the years, and I've been trying to leverage those best practices. So one is focus on profitability. So it's really hard to be profitable as a new business, as a startup. The founder I was talking with yesterday is a year into his brand, and they got into Bloomingdale's and they're on Amazon, and it's really hard. It's still not profitable. So even though profitability is not probably realistic year one, always have that in mind. Also, it's really expensive to drive traffic to a website, especially for a bootstrap company that isn't backed. And so I think it is more efficient at this moment in time to spend ads on Amazon, on that platform. They already have their customers are primed to buy. It's the second largest retailer in the world behind Walmart. And so every founder's dream is to get into retail, and Amazon is the second biggest retailer. And you can be on there without any hurdles. So I think that's a big opportunity. It's kind of leveled the playing field for a lot of companies. And so I'm going to be leaning into that myself. And then just like we were talking about working with influencers and creators, from an affiliate perspective, that's something that I'm looking at too, is how can I work with other moms and other brands and form a relationship and a partnership that works on for both sides, that can drive affiliate revenue for them to Amazon or to my website. But knowing that customers do like to convert and usually have a cart open on Amazon, I think for a new brand, it just is, it's just a good way for brand awareness and exposure, since people are really open to discovery on Amazon.
Well, I'd love to take a minute to look ahead. It's almost 2025, and I'd love to understand what shifts you're anticipating seeing related to marketing mix, relating to maybe technology plays, et cetera, that you're thinking about for Gryme, as well as some of the fractional capacities you work in.
Yeah, I think if you don't say AI, you're, not paying attention. AI is, other than the TikTok and Amazon, everyone's talking about AI. So, in machine learning. So Chat GPT, let's just start there. I think brands are going to be, I think everyone is going to be leveraging Chat GPT even more. There's so much talk about, it can write copy, it can create a content calendar for you or thought starters, write press releases, create scripts for videos, write blogs. I mean, it seems like every day someone is posting something, a new idea of how to leverage ChatGPT. I think people are getting wary of AI written content, so using it as a thought starter and not just verbatim, I think is the right way to go. But I think people are going to be leaning into that even more, in addition to other competitors or in other AI platforms. I think from another machine learning perspective is shoppable videos. Shoppable videos are incredible because you can create new content, or you can leverage content that's like high performing on social, and then make it shoppable while your audience is watching it. And so that's something that you can curate even based on your audience's interests. So you have, a website visitor based on their profile or what you can figure out about them. You can personalize like what videos that they see, and the products that you're serving up, and make it really easy button for them to just add to cart. I think that shoppable videos are going to be continuing to take off. There's already a number of brands out there or companies out there offering that. And then we were just listening to at Founder Made at the Executive Summit that influencer content can even, benefit from AI. So they're learning about an influencer, how they speak, how they look, how they talk, and basically personalizing messages to their audience, that's approved by the influencer, approved by the creator, but that's AI generated. So then that reduces the amount of creation hours for them, which I think is really interesting. So I think we'll see probably more of that, and then personalizing it. So there's a lot of talk about the micro influencers, and people are kind of had overlooked them, or not overlooked them, but you want the Kim Kardashians and the big names. Somebody with 10,000 or fewer followers isn't probably going to move the needle. But now I think people are coming around to that. That's a great group of people to reach out to and to leverage for your brand, because they have smaller audiences that are more connected to them. Their engagement's higher, and that is somebody that you could probably build relationships with over time. And as they grow, you're going to grow. Whereas you work with like the macro influencers, their engagement may not be like as high, and so it may not translate into the sales that a brand really like is looking for. So having a well-known creator being able to customize content and personalize it so it feels personal, I think is going to be interesting to see if that translates into sales or even just more engagement.
And I have to say, with Gryme, where you're going after a new generation who is probably going to be more open to AI than us older folks, that'll be interesting too, because I think these like AI generated creators might be very exciting and normal for them.
No, I think that it's more of a Gen Z play. The Gen Alpha, they're really craving in real life too. They're like in-person experiences. So, it's what the early data is showing, because I mean, these kids are so young, but they like to go into store, they like to feel and touch because they've just been online and you're just seeing photos and videos. And so, they really want that in-person connection. So I don't know. We'll see how Gen Alpha turns out.
Yeah, so maybe a Gryme pop-up somewhere near you in the future.
I think so. Yes. All right. So another thing I'm keeping an eye on for 2025 is Substack. I have already a few subscriptions to some writers. So writers, journalists, reporters, anyone can start, a newsletter on Substack, and it's a really interesting way of growing an audience, but also being able to like monetize that audience. And from a social media perspective, it's a new platform that's getting a lot of traction. And so there's a few journalists or writers that I follow. It's, that are in beauty and fashion. A couple you could check out is The Review of Beauty by Jessica Delfino. I think she's got well over 100,000 subscribers. And then a friend of mine has a column called Writing in Black and White, and her name is Christine Morrison, and she's a reporter. And it's great because a lot of these writers are trying to just find their own voice, a lot of freelancers, and then monetizing their own writing in addition to working with publications. So brands being able to like work with these authors and get their message out in this platform is another thing that I think a lot of brands are going to be leaning into for next year.
It's a lot to think about for 2025. So thank you so much for the time today, Sabrina. I think the last question is really, what's the best way for people to follow you on your journey and your next steps?
Sure. So if you want to reach out to me, you can email me at sabrina@gryme.co. And you could follow us on Instagram or TikTok at gryme.co. And it's GRYME. And then our website is gryme.co. And you can search for us on Amazon at just Gryme and check out our products.
This has been great, Sabrina. Thank you for giving us a look inside your playbook and some of the things you've been focused on this year and the times ahead. So appreciate it so much.